again, and welcome to the Gentleman Uncles. As always, this is Kyle.
And Brylan.
Brylan and I watched what is arguably one of the greatest Rambo ripoffs ever made, Deadly Prey, made in 1986 by the auteur David Pryor, and starring his brother, Ted Pryor.
Oh, that's who the blonde guy was?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, there we go.
Well, a little bit of nepotism in the Pryor family. Now, this movie, it's kind of strange because it's only recently gotten real popular in the bad movie scene. That's partly due to Alamo Drafthouse and Red Letter Media, and it got so popular that David Pryor made a sequel to it in 2013 called Deadliest Prey, which is another great movie, and maybe one day we'll do something with that one.
Yes.
With a lot of bad movies, you can kind of describe it as aliens saw a movie and then decided they were going to make their own without any knowledge of human culture or language or interaction or anything like that, and they just sort of threw something together and were like, this looks close enough.
They're like a perfect example, Tommy Wiseau.
Yes, Tommy Wiseau is some kind of extra-dimensional being from the future with no...
Or he's D.B. Cooper.
Or, yeah, there is that theory that he's D.B. Cooper,
It's a good theory. A strange, mysterious man with an interesting accent disappears with a lot of money, and then a strange, mysterious man with an interesting accent appears with no history and a lot of money to make his own movie. I'm just saying. I know he claims he's only like 35, but look at that face. And that dude's got to be like 60.
And they could all be Nikola Tesla. They could, because I personally believe Tesla was from the future. So he could have built a time machine, faked his death, come forward in time, became D.B. Cooper, needed modern money, so he stole some money, and then disappeared for a while, and now he's back as Tommy Wiseau.
That's possible too.
History's mysteries. We'll never know. But anyway, Deadly Prey. Someone saw First Blood and said, "Wow, what a great movie. I want to make my own."
Except I only have $50 and I really am not good at writing. So I'm only going to write 10 pages of dialogue for an hour and a half long movie.
Also, I'm not a fan of clothing, so our lead is only going to run around with a mullet and little shorty shorts the entire time.
Yeah, which, just makes sense considering he's in the middle of a jungle and he's fighting for his life.
The jungle of Riverside,
the jungles
California.
of Temecula.
Well, actually, It was filmed in and around Riverside, which is interesting and noteworthy.
Due to their claim of it being 75 miles southeast of LA, that would put it straight in the heart of San Diego's wine country, Temecula.
Where the rich people go to hunt humans for sport.
Yeah, obviously. Or where you train a really hardcore mercenary group.
Okay, well, I want to address that. So the whole plot is there's a mercenary group that rents themselves out to anyone, and they train by grabbing random civilians, throwing them in the woods, and then hunting them. To me, that doesn't seem like great training because you're just hunting unarmed people instead of fighting like actual combat.
And on top of that, they are not that good a mercenary group because the first guy we see them hunting is some fat 40-year-old businessman, and he even ends up killing one of the guys.
Yeah.
This unarmed businessman kills one of the mercenaries coming after him. And then they decide, we need a tougher challenge?
So they scoop...
No! You should be hunting toddlers. If that guy could kill you? Come on.
So they scoop up Mike Danton, who fought in Vietnam. As a matter of fact, the tagline of the movie is, in Vietnam, he was the best. He still is. So... They scoop up this guy who they later realize is the ultimate soldier.
But they just grabbed him off a random suburban corner.
Yeah, as he was taking out the trash. And they grease him up, too. That's the best part. He comes out, he's taking out the trash, and he has, flip-flops and little shorty shorts and, a white sweatshirt on. And then when they take him, they take his shoes away and his sweatshirt, and then they, rub him down with oils and say, go.
Yeah. But the mercenary group... That was, I think, what you were getting to, was the mercenary group is being funded by some sort of shady businessman for reasons never explained.
Who literally just says, I'm a businessman. He doesn't say what his business is. There's no reason given for him having need of a mercenary group. He just, is...
Maybe it's just he wants to broaden his investments.
I don't care about anything but profits, and somehow this is going to be profitable. The mercenary group is also led by Danton's former commander, right? Or, the guy that taught him everything.
Dude, I think it was it might have been his commander, but it was definitely like I know he's the best because I trained him.
Yep.
Yes, the guy trained Danton, and he says Dan was the best soldier he ever trained, and and then he has combination of like Ivan Drago and the leader of Cobra Kai Dojo as his like second in command,
Lieutenant Thornton.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about? The guy with the glasses, sunglasses man.
Yes,
sunglasses man is the best because he takes the bad guy trope.
No, he's the second best.
No, he's the best because he takes the he takes the bad guy trope of just shooting his own men to prove a point way too far. To where he'll just shoot his own men for like no reason. There's a scene where he has a squad of guys with him, and one of the guys goes, "We're not hunting him. He's hunting us." And Thornton just pulls his gun out, points it at the guy who said that, and says, "Suck this," and shoots him for no reason.
Yeah, just because you don't talk back.
You don't
talk back to sunglasses.
You don't talk like at all. Apparently. So there's that, and there's a guy that looks like Tim Curry, Cooper. And Cooper and Danton had fought in Nam together.
Oh, I thought he kind of looked like Steve Guttenberg.
I thought he looked like Tim Curry, but
Yeah, a little bit.
Take some cons. And Danton had taken a bullet in Nam for him,
or something.
Yeah, they had fought in Nam together. So once they realize who the other is, they're like, "Oh,
but
cool."
This was because at the beginning, after you see them get the 40-year-old businessman they were hunting, then he's like, "Bring in the new recruits," and the recruits are people who somehow heard of this mercenary group.
Mm-hmm.
And decided they just want to join up. And there's like 5 of them. And the head commander guy's like, "Why do you want to be here? Why do you want to be here?" He asks all of them. And the first 4 guys say, "The money." And then Cooper goes, "The fun."
So he's a psychopath who just likes killing people for sport.
But he clearly has a well-developed sense of honor and loyalty.
But he also likes killing people for fun. You can have both.
Yeah, I guess so.
You can have both. Why not? Fuck it. This movie is making my brain hurt. We're having kind of a hard time with this because there's really not a whole lot to talk about because it's
just running around and grunting and shooting.
Yeah, I mean, part of the greatness of it is, okay, so 10 little Indians, Danton...
Yes.
Picks off a mercenary at a time, but with like sticks and rocks.
He goes full Ewok on him.
Yeah, which is
that's
weird.
What happens
because
somehow he has time to build all these traps, and then it gets even better when he actually escapes. Well, we'll get to that part. But then he builds more traps and just adds C4. Which is always the answer to everything.
He kills these guys, and instead of taking their guns and their weapons and better arming himself, he keeps using sticks and rocks. Because why not?
Because he's the best, and he doesn't need any guns.
But really, there's not much to this movie. Like,
Well, the biggest thing for me was, so Cooper helps Danton kind of get away. Danton kills a bunch of guys, hides in this little makeshift, like, reed hut, and then, like, somehow gets back to his house.
Oh, yeah, he just goes home. Like, he just goes home.
He just goes home.
Whatever.
And after he goes missing, his wife calls her dad.
Who? Okay, hold on.
You just saw. She witnesses him being abducted into an unmarked van. What does she do? She calls her dad, who's a retired police officer. And he says, "I know that you're retired, but I figured I would call you before I called the police." What? You're gonna call a 65-year-old retired man to try and help you when you just saw your husband get abducted instead of calling the police?
That is perfectly acceptable to me, and I will tell you why. Because her father...
Please, explain.
Her father is played by an actor named Cameron Mitchell. And Cameron Mitchell has been in over 259 movies. I mean, he was between 1958 and 1994. And he is one of the best goddamn actors that has ever lived on this or any other planet in any dimension at any time. He is fucking amazing. There's a marvelous scene where he confronts the businessman who's funding these mercenaries, and he gives.
It's the most amazing scene in the movie.
It's one of the best speeches I've ever heard. Chekhov and Shakespeare are fucking drooling morons compared to the writing of this. Oh my god.
Spectacular.
Okay, so there's apparently a little bit of detective work in the movie that is cut out because the daughter gives her father the license plate number of the van that carried Danton off.
Three numbers.
3 numbers. And the next thing we see is Cameron Mitchell pulling up to the outskirts of the camp. He finds the businessman is leaving. Because he came and, chewed out leader because he wasn't training efficiently enough. And Cameron Mitchell...
profit margins, blah, blah, blah.
Confronts the businessman and gives this speech. I wish I could remember the actual wording of it. because I'm not going to do it justice if I just describe it. But
No.
it's something along the lines of, I'm just a beat cop who spent 20 years trying to put people like you away. I spent 20 years in the filth of the street. There ain't no music down there. People shooting themselves up with heroin, and while you guys sit in the fancy penthouses, and then he just shoots them.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically, it's a Marxist kind of rise of the people.
Kind of? I mean...
But not, because it doesn't make any bit of goddamn sense.
No, but he delivers it so perfectly.
No, his delivery is fantastic.
And, okay.
But, so he's sneaking around this camp, doesn't really get detected for a while, so whatever. They also, before Danton makes it home, he's picking them off one by one and hiding in the forest, and so they decide what better way to motivate him to get him to come out and get killed than going and kidnapping his wife. So, they go back to his house, kidnap his wife, and then the leader decides to rape her?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Just 'cause?
Well,
and then
there.
takes her and is like, "Hey, we got your wife," and Danton's getting super pissed.
Well, hold on.
Danton
goes home. Right. Danton goes home, realizes she's been kidnapped, and decides to, or no, there's one of the commander's lackeys is there waiting for him, and they have a little conversation.
And then he opens up his personal armory
and puts pants on.
Yes.
And puts pants on. That's his suiting up. He puts pants
on.
No
shoes.
He puts pants on. No, he puts combat boots on, too. He puts combat boots.
Oh, okay.
Pants
and he has,
on.
bandoliers for his shotguns and his grenades and his C4 and his...
And a little,
machine guns.
And a little, kerchief wrapped around his bicep.
Yes.
And then he's like, fuck these fuckers, and goes back to save his wife. In the meantime, Cameron Mitchell's been captured and killed.
That was the most pointless death. So I didn't know why they had to kill the dad, but I was like, okay, well, they killed the dad... it's his father-in-law. I was like, okay, well
they killed him because he was picking off their goons.
As much as a 65-year-old man with a revolver can pick off an army of mercenaries.
First off, it was a double-barrel shotgun.
Oh, right.
It was
the other guy had the handgun.
Yeah,
the businessman. Had the handgun.
But they they can't. My fucking brain is rotting away. Okay, hold up. Okay. Okay,
we got this.
So here's the thing. Where we're at right now...
Cameron has gone back. Or not Cameron.
Danton has gone back to save his wife. And when he gets back there, he hooks up with Cooper, and they're like, all right.
And puts more booby traps.
Yep.
This time with C4.
And then he kind of easily saves the wife. He just sort of sneaks into camp, gets her, and takes her back to the little hut.
And she's, crying in a ball, and and he puts her in his little reed hut.
Yeah, his little hidey hole.
Stay here.
Then, somehow, Lieutenant Thornton, sunglasses
man, yeah,
gets the wife.
He shows up in the hidey hole.
Yeah, just shows up there. Kidnaps her again and is confronted by Cooper, who... does he shoot him in the leg or something? No. He just, holds him at gunpoint and takes the wife.
Cooper saves the wife again. He doesn't shoot Sunglasses because...
No, okay.
He's...
Okay, hold on. Cooper signed up with this group to...
Yes.
Just because he thought killing people was fun. For the fun.
Yes.
That's what he says. Then Thornton, when Cooper confronts him to save the wife, Thornton does the, bad guy, go ahead and kill me, you fucking traitor, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Cooper decides not to kill him, for some reason, starts walking away, and is...
Now he's a good guy.
And is shot in the back and killed for his trouble. Danton hears the gunshots, starts running towards them, and gets there just in time to see Thornton shoot his wife to death.
Yes.
Which is like, oh...
I don't think... Cooper dies?
Yeah, Cooper gets killed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now this guy's father-in-law, the only friend he seemingly had, and his wife are all dead.
And then one of the best fight scenes that I've ever seen happens, because Thornton... It's the showdown between Thornton and Danton.
And they're, silhouetted on a cliff in front of the sunset, and it's just...
Even though they were in the forest 80s. A second ago.
Right, yeah.
So they're fighting.
Yeah, of course.
Thornton kind of gets the upper hand, and then, with a machete, Danton cuts Thornton's arm off, and then beats him to death.
At the shoulder, right?
Just below the shoulder. And then beats him to death with his own arm.
Yes.
I want you to think... let it sink in for a second. He beats a man to death with his own severed arm. That's... You can't...
The only way it possibly could have been better... is if he turned the arm around and slapped him in the face with his own hand.
And then shoved it up his ass. So that's it, basically. All the goons are dead, Thornton's dead, and he confronts the commander of the mercenary group, who is named... What's his name? Shit. Hogan. Colonel Hogan, and he's dismantled his entire organization. He has him at his like whim, and he tells him to strip and to run.
Oh yeah, which is basically exactly what they did at the beginning, because that was what they told Danton when they had Danton stripped and oiled down. Then they looked at him like, run, and then they start firing their guns in the air. So it's like a reversal of fortune, turn of the tables.
Yeah.
Shoes on the other foot.
Yeah, so he's doing to Hogan what was done to him. And then the movie ends, and that's it.
You don't even get to see him kill Hogan.
No, he just like...
You just know that he's going to.
He just screams. Danton like throws his hands up in the air and like, ah! Screams. And credits roll. Now, what this says to me is they saw First Blood and saw that it had kind of, a sad downer ending. And said, let's do that, without any kind of the emotional payoff that First Blood has.
Right, yeah.
So it's just like, oh.
It wasn't even purposeful like a random Joss Whedon killing. Like, it was just, hey, look, these are the three closest characters that are closest emotionally with the main character. Let's kill them.
Yeah.
But not in any purposeful, meaningful way.
No.
Just kill them. We're going to make sure they're dead.
And then the movie ends. And that's it. And we're making it sound probably horribly boring and depressing. I mean, he takes out a helicopter with a grenade launcher. Goddamn.
And he kills a man with his own arm. Like, that right there is worth seeing the whole film, because it's one of the best fights ever.
Okay, the thing about this movie, it's wonderful early mid-'80s action. See it or don't, I don't give a fuck.
But it's just definitely know that it's a lot of running around through the forest, killing. And not much else, but it's awesome.
It's awesome in the way, like, actually, it kind of, there was a movie that came out recently with Keanu Reeves called John Wick.
I did not see that, but I did see trailers.
It wasn't bad. It actually kind of reminded me of it, because, I mean, it's Keanu Reeves is going around killing people for various reasons, and then not a whole bunch else, but the fight scenes are great. So, fuck it.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so that's Deadly Prey. There's really not much more to say about it.
Yeah, it's definitely an action movie that is cheese factor-ish, but not in like a cheesy way, if that makes any sense.
It's not going to make you feel insulted or talked down to or whatever, so...
No. Oh!
What?
How did that happen?
What?
I just looked up Deadliest Prey, and apparently, here's the mini synopsis for Deadliest Prey.
Oh.
Colonel Hogan, I'm just saying, Colonel Hogan is still alive.
Yep.
And just getting out of prison on parole 28 years later. But he has only one thing in mind, and that is revenge on Mike Danton.
That's the framework. The movie itself is pretty much Deadly Prey. Like, almost beat for beat.
Nice.
We'll talk about Deadliest Prey eventually, though. Because that's its own glorious thing.
It's still got Danton and Pryor in it.
Yep.
I mean, Danton and Hogan in it.
Yep. It even has Thornton in it. It has Thornton's twin brother, who's played by the same actor, who also gets his arm chopped off and then is beaten to death with.
Oh, so much better.
Okay, what I want to talk about now for a little bit is the trip I just took.
Yeah.
I recently
enlighten us
to a film festival called B-Fest, which is held every year in January in Evanston, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. And what it is 24 hours straight of the best bad movies that have ever been made, arguably. You've seen Mystery Science Theater 3000, right, Brylan?
Oh, God, yes. I love that.
What B-Fest is like is imagine that, but with 300 people for 24 hours.
So awesome.
It's pretty spectacular. There's a few traditions for it. At midnight, they always show Play Night from Outer Space, and a little short film called Wizard of Speed and Time, and they show that one. First, they show it regularly, forwards, and then right after that, they show it upside down and backwards, because the first time they showed it, back when everything was all filmed before they switched to digital, they accidentally showed it backwards and upside down, and they're like, fuck it, let's do that. But
it's gonna make about the same amount of sense.
They had a pretty good lineup this year. It started off with The Creature with the Atom Brain, which is a great 1950s B movie about a mad scientist and criminal bringing people back with radiation and science.
Like you do.
Metal Storm.
What else is science for?
Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin, which I can describe what happens in that film, but I will not be able to tell you what it's about, because I could not follow that goddamn thing at all. It was kind of like this weird Star Wars meets Kroll meets Mad Max kind of thing. There were someone was wanting crystals to steal people's souls, and there was a prophecy, and...
So it was like Skyrim?
Actually, yeah,
soul gems?
That is what I thought of when people started stealing other people's souls with gems. I did think that was like one of the first things that popped into my head.
You're like, oh, I've used those before.
Then there was Frogs, and Frogs is a 70s horror movie starring Sam Elliott, and it takes place in the bayou, and like this plantation thing, and it's pretty much like environmentalism meets Jaws, where a bunch of people start getting killed by woodland creatures because they're mean to the environment. But it's called frogs, and people are killed by snapping turtles, seagulls, lizards, spiders, and yeah, they're killed by a whole bunch of stuff. Frogs never kill a single person, but fuck it. And then there's
do you ever see frogs?
Oh yeah, there's frogs everywhere, but it like shows them. I think it's supposed to be implying that the frogs are like behind it all or something.
Oh, they're the mastermind.
But I don't know. And then there was Killdozer, which is a great movie about a bulldozer coming to life.
Killdozer. Which is like somebody... Is it Killdozer that was based off the Stephen King short story Trucks, or is Killdozer another movie that was made after somebody made the movie based off Truck?
I'm going to say yes to both.
All right.
Because it feels like Trucks or Maximum Overdrive or whatever, but...
Maximum Overdrive is the movie made off of Trucks.
Yeah.
And then Killdozer came after that. That's right.
Then there was Wizard of Speed and Time, Plan 9 from Outer Space, and Plan 9 is at midnight. So after that, that's usually when whatever kids come have gone to sleep and gone home, so that's when they start getting a little more adult. It's usually some kind of 70s blaxploitation movie, and this year it was Black Mama, White Mama, which if you want to look up what it's about, go ahead. Because I'm not going to describe it here because my mother occasionally listens to this podcast. Then there was Yongary Monster from the Deep, which is Korea's answer to Godzilla, and the monster looks exactly like Godzilla, except it has a horn that can shoot lasers, and they kill it with tickle powder.
What?
Yeah, just accept it. Then there's Avalanche.
Does it have a snappy bowl haircut?
It looks exactly like Godzilla, except it has a horn.
Is the horn on is it like a nose horn like a rhino or a forehead horn like a unicorn?
A nose horn like a rhino, and it shoots lasers out of it.
And then tickle powder.
Then they kill it with tickle powder.
Perfect.
And when it dies, it like actually dies and like seizes to death, and its bowels release. It's really weird.
That's actually probably worse than just having a monster like collapse on your city. Because now you have a giant pile of monster shit collapse on your city.
In the river, too. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. You're never going to be able to drink that water.
Then there's Avalanche, which was made by Roger Corman. It's just a great old disaster flick about a ski lodge that gets caught in an avalanche.
Well, I mean, it's a disaster flick in the way that Titanic was a disaster flick.
No, it's an actual disaster flick in the vein of like Tower.
But I thought there's only like 15 minutes of disaster.
Yeah, but the disaster
at the end of the movie.
Whatever. Fuck you.
It's like here's a story, and then in the last 15 minutes something terrible happens.
No, it's not like that at
Titanic.
all, because there wasn't any story before that. It was just people talking to each other.
Even better. Kind of like Titanic.
After that, there was Cloak and Dagger. It's a great little movie.
Based on the comics?
No. It was made after E.T., and it's starring the boy that played Elliot in E.T. It was made around the same time as The Last Starfighter. As a matter of fact, they're usually paired on DVDs. And it's kind of in the vein of war games. This little kid, he plays a game that's like D&D, but Cold War spies, and he goes out one day to get Twinkies from a vending machine, and he sees a scientist get killed by Russian spies, and he gives them a game cartridge for a game that was on the Atari. This whole movie was sponsored...
The Scientist.
Yes. The whole movie was sponsored by Atari. And what's great about this movie is it was sponsored by Atari, starring the kid from E.T., but this is after the video game crash of the 80s that was caused by the E.T. game.
The E.T. cartridge, yes.
Yep, and there's posters for it all over the background in the movie, but this is after the collapse, so I don't know why they spent money advertising this thing. Anyway, moving on.
So it's kind of like a combination of War Games and The Wizard.
Yes, yeah, it kind of is.
Got it.
Then there was Andy Hardy's Private Secretary, which is part of the Andy Hardy series, which was a series of movies made by Mickey Rooney in the 40s. I'm not going to dignify this movie with much more of an explanation because I fucking hated it. It made me angry, and this is when I fell asleep because this was 8 a.m. the next day, and I hadn't slept all night. After that, there was Alien from L.A., which I can't really talk about because I also fell asleep during this movie, much to my chagrin, because I was very much enjoying it. It was made around the same time as the Super Mario Brothers movie, and it kind of borrows a lot of the same plot elements from it. Actually, Super Mario borrows elements from this because it was made after.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a sequel to Journey to the Center of the Earth, and it stars Kathy Ireland as this geek loser girl because she wears glasses, following her father down a bottomless pit and finding Atlantis at the center of the Earth, which is actually an alien spaceship.
Yeah, I can see that.
Then there's Miami Connection, and I'm not going to talk about Miami Connection because one day we are going to do a whole episode on Miami Connection because it is
I've seen the trailer, and trust me, everyone out there listening, you are in for a treat.
Miami Connection is one of my favorite bad movies, period. It's one of my favorite movies, period, honestly. And then, to round out B-Fest, there was Viva Knievel. Okay, Viva Knievel. I'm going to give you 3 guesses who it stars.
Evil Knievel.
Yep. The villain.
Woohoo!
There was the villain and the sub-villain. The villain is played by Leslie Nielsen, and the sub-villain is played by the late, great Cameron Mitchell. And it's about Leslie Nielsen getting Evil Knievel to do a jump in Mexico that he's going to rig so he'll die, so that he can smuggle drugs back over the border in Evil Knievel's travel van, because according to him, no one's going to stop and search Evil Knievel's funeral procession. That's the plot of the movie. And
so the whole point is killing Evil Knievel to smuggle drugs back using his funeral procession.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. So that's B-Fest. Now, to a lot of people, sitting and watching bad movies for 24 hours may sound horrible and stupid and boring and whatever. But what's great about this experience is it's usually the same group of people that go, so there's this nice sense of camaraderie. And what I love about it is these movies are shit. Like, there's no two ways about it. But a lot of them wouldn't have been seen at all if it wasn't for something like B-Fest. So,
yeah.
Say what you want about these movies. They were made because someone cared enough and wanted to make it. A lot of these movies, some of them are cheap riff-offs and whatever, but a lot of them are passion projects. And you get to be a part of a group that legitimizes this person's passion, which is just awesome.
And, I mean, that's the way you get great bad movies, is a passion project.
Yeah.
Not, like, just shitty bad movies, which are like Michael Bay. But, like, great bad movies are people who legitimately tried their best to make their vision happen. And they just horribly failed at it, but they tried really hard and they cared about it, and that's what makes a good bad movie.
Yep, and what's really great about B-Fest is between each movie, people were yelling stuff at the screen and making fun of it the whole time. But between the movies, you hear people like actually talking about it and like picking them apart like they're actual movies. Like example, Metal Storm, the destructive Jared Sin. The lead actor never blinked in the entire movie, and I was walking by a group of guys talking about whether or not that was a deliberate choice or if it just like panned out that way, which is cool. Like we actually get to legitimize these people's vision, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of legitimizing visions, I'm going to do a little ad here. This is from you showing me this. Everyone listening, go to Kickstarter and search Kung Fury. I mean, they're already fully funded. You can fund if you want. After you watch the trailer, you'll probably want to. But just go check it out, because, oh my god, perhaps the greatest movie of the generation. And it's a passion project, and it's something that is just going to blow your mind.
We'll probably put the trailer in the description of this video or podcast or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I'll put up the link to the Kickstarter page on our Facebook page too.
Yep. It's pretty spectacular. Anyways, that's it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
What did we say the next one we're going to be doing? What was it? Constantine?
I think we're going to do Constantine.
Constantine from 2005?
Yeah.
That's going to be a controversial one. That's going to be a really controversial one. Because I don't hate it. Here's the thing. I don't think it's that bad.
No, me either. I think it'll probably be along closer to the lines of like our good movies that we do.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not great spectacular like that David Hyde Pierce movie or something like that.
Perfect
but
Host?
It's yeah, Perfect Host. Whew, amazing. I mean, it's not great like that, but it's not bad. I enjoy the movie. Say what you will about Keanu Reeves. Say what you will about the version and adaptation they did of the Constantine graphic novel series. But it's a good movie. I like it for what it is. It's good.
For the Gentleman Uncles, I have been Kyle.
And I've been Brylan.
Thank you, and good night.